Okay, so in this video we're going to talk about the extra credit assignment for the midterm. Now this is the last question that we have to deal with. Remember, in the previous videos I think that there weren't this new particular question, but this question has been added, and also the number of points for each question has also been updated. So here we're still dealing with the salary data. However, we have a new tab. So you're receiving salary data in CFA, and also you notice that there is a new tab here, data encoding, and here you have a table where you have names and the school year. Okay, so what we want to do is to do so let's go to the question that we're being asked. So here is the question. Problem number 2. Now we have two problems, so this extra credit assignment is made of two problems. Problem number 1, that's what we have discussed, so it has 1, 2, 3, 4 questions. Now problem number 2 has 5, is the 5th question. So when you open the Excel file, you see a tab named data encoding. So when we talk about a tab in Excel, we're talking about these here. This is a tab here, this is another tab. So you notice that there is a tab called data encoding. And next, what does it say? It says that you are given a data that shows student names and school years. In order to conduct a statistical analysis, we need to encode the values in the school year column. So here's the data, as mentioned. Here's the data that contains names and school years, and in order to perform some statistical analysis, we need to replace those labels here, UPP, sophomore, juniors, with numbers. Okay, so we're going to replace those values with numbers. That's what we mean by the encoding process. So in order to conduct a statistical analysis, you need to encode the values in the school year column. You arbitrarily decide to encode the values as follows. UPP will be represented as 0, freshman as 1, sophomore as 2, junior as 3, and senior as 4. So in other words, you replace, you go to the data and you want to replace UPPs with 0, sophomores with 1, sophomore with 2, freshman with 1, junior with 3, and senior with 4. That's what we want to do. So once we have done that, with here's the question, the actual question. Once we have done that, use Excel to encode the data. So we're going to replace it with Excel. What is the Excel formula that you have used in the third observation of the column that you have encoded? So here you need to write the formula that you have used. Like if you haven't written a formula to do it, then there is nothing you can write. So you haven't answered the question. But in order to answer the question, you actually need to use an Excel formula in order to answer the question. Okay, so that's what we're gonna do now. So but let me go back on what we mean by encoding. Okay, so encoding categorical data. Data can be divided, as you already know, data can be divided into quantitative types or categorical type. Okay, so we have two types. Quantitative consists of numbers representing count or measurements, so things that you're counting or measurement. Categorical data or qualitative data, also called attribute data, consists of names of people, names of things, or labels that are not numbers representing counts or measurements. So that these are labels or names, but they can also be numbers, but as long as they are not representing count or measurement. In certain cases, the numbers can be used as categorical data only if they are used as labels or when they are used as a substitute for a name. Okay, so categorical data may consist of numbers, okay, as we said here, as long as those numbers are used as labels. So for example, if I write for example, if I decide that freshman will be represented as 1, the value 1 in this case is not used as a measurement, not used as a count, but it is used as a label to replace the word freshman. Okay, Now, encoding. What is encoding? Encoding a categorical data is a process of converting categorical data into a number format. So you transform that categorical value, so for example freshman, into a number like 1, 2, etc. So the benefit of encoding. So what does a statistician want to, why do they encode? So the benefit of encoding is the fact that it allows us to perform some statistical analysis on categorical data, since most of the statistical techniques require that values to be numbers and not categories or names. So if you want to do some statistical analysis, you want to use numbers. You don't want to have statements. Okay. So let's consider the data below. So column description, name represent the name of students, and school year indicate the school year of the student, UPP, freshman, sophomore, or junior. Okay, so this is school years. So here we can see that school year, as we all know, school year is a categorical data. It consists of labels. Okay, UPP, this is a label, sophomore is a label, etc. So in order to perform some statistical analysis, the statistician need to replace the school years with numbers. So the values in here, if you want to do some statistical analysis such as prediction or things like that, it needs to replace these values with numbers like 1, 2, 3. So in other words, it wants to encode or replace UPP, freshman, sophomore, junior, and senior with numbers. It decides to arbitrarily assign numbers to each level. Okay, so you want to change these by numbers. You want 0 to represent UPP, 1 to represent freshman, 2 to represent -2 to represent sophomore, -3 to represent junior, and 4 to represent senior. Okay, so negative version, -2 sophomore, etc. So the table that we have used above becomes the following table after encoding the categorical data school year. So once we have encoded this, if we replace this by the values that we have given here, here's the new table that we've obtained. Okay, our school year, we said freshman UPP should be 0. We said that sophomore should be -2, junior should be -2, etc. Okay, so okay, now even though school year consists of numbers, so as we can see now we have numbers. Okay, it remains a categorical data because remember initially it was deemed, it was just to be a categorical data, but we've simply replaced those values by numbers, and even though these are numbers, this remains still a categorical data because these numbers were chosen arbitrarily, and these numbers are substitute for labels. Okay, freshman, sophomore, junior, etc. So we are replacing those numbers with we are replacing the names such as freshman, sophomore with numbers. Okay, so and also the numbers are arbitrary. So for example, I can take -10 means sophomore, so another person can come and may decide, okay, I'm going to take 5 as junior. So the numbers are arbitrary, so it depends on the judgment of the person doing the work. Okay, so that was a basic introduction about encoding categorical data. So let's go back to the work that we need to do. So going back to the data. Okay, so here is our data that we want to encode. So here I'm going to use the if function in Excel. So here I'm going to tap equal to if the value here B2, the value here we call it, as you can see, B2 is equal to UPP. So I open bracket here, UPP. Okay, what I want to tell to Excel is the following. If you see UPP here, you put a 0. If you see freshman, you put a 1. If you see sophomore, you put a 2. Just like here in the problem, it says freshman UPP will be represented as 0, freshman as 1, sophomore as 2, junior as 3, senior as 4. So what I want to tell to Excel is, if you see freshman, what I want to tell to Excel is, if the value that is here is equal to UPP. So if Excel, you see UPP here, write a 0, okay, comma. So here I'm telling, if here you can see the different function that needs to be used. Logical test. So the logical test will be inequality. So if the value here in this cell B2 is equal to the UPP, then this is the action that you need to take. Then write 1, write 0, okay. Now normally I should now if value if it is false, meaning that if we don't see UPP here, let me try this. Let me put, let's say 7. If it doesn't see UPP, it should write 7. So it sees UPP and it writes 0, okay. Because I told Excel, if you see, if the value in B2 is equal to the word UPP, remember when it is a word, you put like these symbols over here. Tell Excel that this is a word, comma 0. If Excel see the word UPP, write 0. Otherwise, if you don't see UPP, write 7. So if I drag it down, you see that for the others you write 7 because they are not UPPs, okay. The formula, okay, so 7 7 7. So for example, so sophomore, you see that sophomore is not UPP, okay. So like, remember when I drag it down, the formula applies to the adjacent cell. So when I drag it down, Excel automatically computes, instead of being stuck here, it will go down here. It will automatically assume that you want, if the cell that is adjacent, meaning this one, is equal to also UPP, then write 0, otherwise 7. Now if I drag it down here, in this cell C4, if I write equal, automatically it says if this value here, if B4 is equal to UPP, then write 0, otherwise write 7. Okay, now what I want to do, I want to put all of the condition in the same, I want to put all of the conditions so that when I drag it down, I can actually see the, like, it will change automatically. If it sees UPP, it will put a 0. If it sees sophomore, it will put a 2. If it sees junior, it will put 3, etc. So I want to put multiple conditions inside my if statement. I think in French the function is si, but in English it is if. Now I'll go back here. Let me write again one more time. I'm going to restart. Let me clear these. Okay, so here I go back and I write equal to if the value in this cell here, B2, is equal to what? UPP, comma, return 0. Else, if, open parentheses, the value here is equal to freshman, okay, comma, return the value 1. If you see freshman, replace freshman with 1, comma, if the value in this cell over here is equal to what? Sophomore, okay, comma, return 2, comma, if the value in here is equal to the word junior, okay, I want you Excel to return 3. Else, comma, if the value in the cell over here, B2, is equal to the word senior, if you see the word senior over there, I want you Excel to return to me 4. Now here I don't have to I don't have to write the comma and then I can directly close my parentheses. So I've closed this parenthesis. You notice that when I close this parenthesis, this one is open, is lighting, like it is lighting it up. You see, like this is green. Like if I close again, if I close another parenthesis, you notice that this one will turn purple. You will notice that. So let me close this one. You see that this will gonna turn purple to say that this is closing this bracket over here, this parenthesis over here. So now as you can see, it turns purple, and that shows that this bracket that I have here, this parenthesis that I have here, is closing this one. Now if I want to close this one over here, you would notice that when I close the parenthesis, this one lightens up. Let me close it, you'll notice it. Okay, let me put my cursor here so that you can see, and then I will close it. As you can notice, it changed, the color changed. Now if I close this one, you notice that the color will change. It is informing me that it is closing. Now the last one, this one is the last one, and I close it. Okay, now everything has been closed, everything, and I press enter. 0. So if it sees UPPs, right, so it returned a 0. So let me drag it down. The formula will apply to every cell. In other words, here, if the value here is equal to UPP, it will return me a 0. If it is freshman, it will return me a 1, and so on. Okay, so the formula will apply to every other cell. So I drag it down. Okay, now if we see sophomore, as you can see, it returns a 2, sophomore, junior, and so on. So here I can write again, so school year. Okay, and I can rearrange. So like the goal has been like I've reached my goal. My goal was to replace these values by numbers. Now my goal has been reached. So what I'm gonna do now is to simply put them together. So let me copy this, and let me paste it here. Paste values. So I want to paste it without the formulas. Okay, so paste special, paste values. Okay, I'm copying them without the formulas, because if I copy them directly, it will copy with all of the formulas that I've used. As you can see, there is no formula. As you can see, there is a 2, 3. It's changing, but it's not showing a formula. But when I go here, and if I go to 2, I can see the formula. Okay, but here there is no formula involved. So and I'm deleting this cell over here. Delete. Okay, and alright. Okay, now everything has been arranged. So this is a table that I needed. Now I can perform some statistical analysis using the numbers that are here. So that is the process of encoding, but we haven't answered the question yet. The question is actually telling us what is the Excel. So once we have used Excel to encode the data, what we need to do, what is the Excel formula that has been used in the third observation of the column that you have encoded. Okay, so the third observation, let's go back to the data that we have encoded. So here's the data that we've encoded. So the third observation, this is the column that you have encoded here. The third observation, this is the first, second, third. The third observation is this one. So what you need to do is to copy this like this. You press Ctrl C, or you press here copy, and you go to your answer sheet. Okay, you go to your answer sheet. Okay, and you paste. Okay, you paste it. Let me remove that. You press Control, press paste, and that pastes the answer. Okay, so that's what you need to do for this question. So this is the paper, this is your report, and this is what you need to turn in. You need to turn in class. Okay, that's the paper that I grade, and the one that you have to submit, I think either via Moodle, but if Moodle is not working, you have to turn in via email. But yes, so yeah, so this is the data that we work on. So you have to also submit these ones. So you have to submit these two. You have to submit this Excel spreadsheet and your report. Okay, so with that being said, this is it for your extra credit assignment.